Last week we tore down what was likely the simplest V8 ever made, a small block Chevrolet. So for this week, I figured I'd go to the extreme opposite end of the spectrum and tear down a very complicated direct injected bi-turbo V8. This is a Mercedes M278. It's a 4.6 liter dual overhead cam V8. Makes about 430 horsepower. This comes in several different Mercedes vehicles, but this particular engine is out of a 2013 S550, which is the big luxury car. And I have no idea what's wrong with this. I bought this because it looked kind of fun to take apart. And when I say fun, I mean challenging. Fun and challenging sometimes are the same. In this case, maybe not so much. But there's a lot of good parts on this engine. They should part out well. This is the very first one I've done, so if I do things in the wrong order, break something, or do something wrong, or call something by the wrong name, that's because I simply don't know better. I'd like to point out some interesting features of this engine. This is the very first engine I've torn down that had a water-to-air intercooler in the valley. Here are the inlets to the intercooler from the turbo, which is boost pressure, goes into this intercooler. It goes through the intercooler under the intake plenum and into the back of the plenum back here and into the intake manifold. Now this doesn't have port injection whatsoever. It's not like a Toyota where they have both. It strictly has direct injection, so it'll be interesting to see how much carbon there is in this intake manifold. There are no plugs in this engine, unfortunately, so we can't take a look at those, but we can try to turn it over because, well, I have no idea if it's locked up. Oh, it spins. Oh, that didn't sound good. Well, it spins to a point, and that was it. Let's go backwards. That's what they tell you not to do all the time, but what do we got to lose? Okay, so it only goes to a point. There might be some damage in here. Yep, we're going to find some stuff. Before we take the turbos off, I wanted to show you what Mercedes has done. They have this stainless steel piece that goes around all of the nuts for the exhaust manifold, and I suppose this is here to keep these nuts from backing off. A lot of heat cycles, vibrations might be able to back these off, so they likely put these in to keep that from happening. Now, as far as how they come off, well, I think I'm going to have to use Old Blue. A lot longer than I anticipated. That's what she said. Well, they sure don't make this easy. Never mind, that was easy. I lied. I don't know how you're supposed to do this the right way, but this is the way we were doing it. That really wasn't too bad. I'm sure that's not fun in the car, or maybe not even possible at all. Did you just get off of there? This is the oil feed. Now for the oil return. It would help if I had the right size. Alright, now it looks like we can just take the turbo off. These are probably the only 6-sided bolts or hardware at all on this engine. Everything else is external Torx and Torx. Wasn't too bad. The reason this side looks different is it has a downpipe still on it, or the pre-downpipe, whatever you want to call this. The part that goes between the exhaust housing on the turbo and likely the cat pipe is still on here. So we're going to get this out of the way so we can get to all the manifold bolts. Well, there's one. Come back here. This one's really stuck here, but not too stuck. Before we get too far, let's get the oil feed and oil return. We also have to get the coolant feed and return off. And just zip this off the pan. It's out of the way. Now I'm trying to get it off the front. Looks like the water pump. So get enough wiggle room to get this thing off. Don't want to tear it up too bad. There we are. That was easy. Not. Should be the last one. All right, let's talk about these turbos for a second. So the turbos and manifold, like most modern cars, it's an integral exhaust housing, and you can remove this band and pull the turbo off and replace just the turbo. Now, one thing I did notice right off the bat is that Mercedes put a little dab of epoxy right there on the wastegate, so you can't adjust it. Why would they want you to not adjust it? We gotta turn the screw and run more boost. No, not really. It doesn't work like that anymore. But the turbos are actually in really good shape. There's no major shaft play. They both spin very freely. No impeller damage. They both look about the same. One's not coated in oil like something let go on one bank. So no clues as to what happened to this engine yet. But I think I can sell these. So that's good. Next, we're gonna get the intake manifold out of the way. Okay, those stay there, I guess. See if I can pull on anything. Nope, there's more. But where? I don't know. Oh, blue. So what is, did I miss some bolts? It couldn't have been that simple. Let's try. No, I'm gonna break it. Don't want to do that. Okay, so I really don't know why this thing won't come off. I read on the internet that you just pull it off. Yeah, you just take the bolts out. So we're just gonna pry really hard and keep our fingers crossed that nothing breaks. Maybe not that hard. So here's that water-to-air intercooler that sits in the valley. It's actually really big, but I have read some stories, did some research, and apparently when tuned or with time, these gaskets can fail and you can have a boost leak. That's no bueno, but still a pretty cool design. It's very compact. Well, remember how I said they're not port injection? I think that could have helped. Look at the amount of carbon on the top of those valves. It's like that in every cylinder. Really a lot of carbon. Somehow this side is worse. Yuck. That's a ton of carbon. The next thing we're going to do is try to pull the injectors out. I have no idea how hard these are to come out. They might just boop right out, or they might be a thorn in the buttock. We'll see. Wow. BMW, take notes. Got one that's a little stuck here. Ah, there we are. That was way too easy. Now for the cam plate and cam sensors. Aluminum bolts. And they even leave you these ledges to pry on. Nothing to it. Someone's been in here with some sandpaper. That is not okay. You don't need sandpaper to clean these surfaces. I promise. Now for the high pressure fuel pump and housing. I don't know if I can pull it off in one piece, but yeah, I'm going to try. Like so. And it's out. And there's the cam lobes that drive the pump. It looks like this one had two pumps, one here and one here, and for whatever reason they took one and left one. Now I think I've talked about the fact that Mercedes uses the valve cover bolts as cam cap bolts. So when you take these off, that's why there's so many bolts on here, so it evenly distributes pressure where it needs to. So when I take these off, there will be limited bolts left to hold the cams in. The inside of this head actually looks pretty good. The journals on the cam, there's some grooves in there that I can feel with my fingernail. Yeah, more pronounced there and there. But it's not terrible. Definitely seems like it's been run low. Yeah. Definitely has some signs of oil starvation. Let's go look at the valve cover. So the valve cover also has a chain guide built into it, which is pretty cool, I think. Yeah, there's some more grooves and scoring on the journals, but it's not terrible. Before we can get this cam plate off, we have to remove the oil filter housing, so we're going to do that first. Looks pretty clean inside. Now the other cam plate. Now the other plate with the... Now for the other side. Same story on this side. Looks like somebody attacked it with some 80 grit. It's not the way. Now let's get this vacuum pump out of the way. Now we're going to get this crankcase ventilation piece off the valve cover. Actually, no, I think that comes off all at one time. I was wrong. Pretty similar. Oh, wait a second. Check out that cam lobe. That is rough. That one's rough. All of these are worn significantly. Every single cam lobe on this cam has major wear. The journals aren't too bad, but the lobes are trash. This cam is junk. Some flakes of metal. Not good. In contrast, the intake cam, it actually looks all right, like the other three did. At this point, I need to get the cams out so I can get the heads off. I mean, I can probably pull the heads with the cams in them, but there's only a few bolts in each cam holding them in. I might as well pull the cams. Plus, I want to check out the followers and see if those are in good shape. And these are kind of a deal to get the chain off. It's like a Mercedes thing. So I'm just going to start zipping bolts off until things fall or fly off. Safety squints, maybe? No. We're gonna do things the right way. I've learned my lesson. Okay, no, I really haven't. But I'm on camera. Don't hurt me. Well, that wasn't bad. Okay, that was a little more of an oomph. Can I get the chain off enough? That's all I need. It just has to come off enough. The answer is maybe. So I can take the guides out, which I'm going to have to do anyway. There's a pin right there and a pin right here. Go get my slide hammer and we'll get those out. So these pins are threaded, so you thread a 6x1.0 bolt into them, and then you thread your slide hammer on, and then give it a little, and they come right out. Oh, this one's going to be tough. And that looks like it is. Yeah, this might not be so hot. I might break this. Just gotta think positively. It's gonna be fine. Yes! That did not go in straight. Cross-threaded the hell out of that. I just want to get the chain off of the sprockets here. Ah, yes. So I was able to get the chain off of this cam here, and then I can get it off of this. Hopefully I'll be able to pull the cams up and slide them out around the chain, and that'll give me access to these outer head bolts here. So we're going to get these couple cam keepers out of the way so we can get the cams out. All right, let's see if my theory works all right. Oh yeah. Just wanted to see the condition of these followers. Everything looks to be okay. The rollers spin pretty easily. No signs of issues. Not on this side. All right, see if I can do the same thing over here. Might need to turn the crank over. We're going to try that, actually. What's the worst that could happen?
Don't answer that.
Now, this is still under copious amounts of tension. Oh, we were close, though. I'm going to keep going. We'll get her. Look at that. That's what I wanted. Now I should be able to take these keepers off and slide the cams out. So I really expected these rollers to be a little tough to spin, but they're not. They do have some wear on them, and there's lots of metal debris coating them. But they're really not bad. They don't look nearly as good as the intake cam, which was in much better condition. Why would there be wear on the cam, on the exhaust cam, not on the journal, which would lead me to think that would be oil pressure related if it was here? Why would it be here? Is it a defective cam maybe? Here are the cams out of that engine. This is the right bank or passenger side in North America. A little bit of wear on the journals like we saw earlier. Then let's get to the other side. This is the driver's side or left-hand side. The intake cam is pretty decent as I bang it on this table. But it's not worn, but this cam is coming apart. It's like maybe they borrowed the metal from Chrysler for their Hemi cams. Of course, I'm kidding, but every single lobe is shaved down. And not a little, like this is pretty significant. Not quite as bad as that flat tappet small block we did last week, but I haven't seen this before. Now it's time to prepare the heads to come off. We're going to pull these ancillary head bolts here, and then we'll get to the head bolts that surround the combustion chambers. Time to get the head bolts loose. Let's see if I can do this without... That's tight. It's really tight. Wow. These are really, really, really tight. But it's okay, I only have to do this for 10 of them on each side. I wonder what the torque spec is on this besides as tight as possible. Holy cow. Did I break it? Sure felt like it. That doesn't feel right. I think that broke. Yep, I just broke a head bolt. Well, if they didn't make them so tight, that would never happen. So I've got one broken head bolt, which is great. Let's see if we can continue on our path of destruction here. Unbelievable how tight these are. I have never had head bolts like this. All right, I think there's just 2 left, unless I missed one, which is possible. All right, now we can try to get these out. All except for one. Oh yeah, that's the broken one. All right, I'm just going to pull this head off. It's just going to come right off, right? I mean, I heard it. I heard it make those noises. I just need a little tap there. Oh, this is one of those head gaskets that's going to slice and dice my fingers. I know it. Don't do that. Not so bad. At first glance, I don't see anything majorly wrong besides, I don't know, a broken head bolt. But These all seem like they're connected in the right way. There's no marks from valves. I don't think there's any contact there. I don't see anything major yet. I've done some really dumb things in my life, but I've never broken a head bolt. Ever. Ever. Now, I've heard that Mercedes have this problem, but not on this engine. I never would have suspected that this was going to happen. The head looks okay. I'll need to run it through the washer to make sure it's not cracked. Again, I don't know what happened to this engine. But there's no damage to any of the valves that I can see. Now we're going to do the other side. And I think I'm going to rotate this. I don't really trust this engine stand. I know it's on my list to replace it. Yeah, we're just going to do it at this angle. It'll be all right. It'll be fine. Good God. For the record, I don't have a whole lot of strength over anyone else. I mean, I just have regular tools and a regular breaker bar, but somehow I still broke a head bolt, and these are all really tight. Holy cow. Whew, that is a workout. That didn't feel good. Same story over here. I don't see anything terrible. Uh-oh. Well. I didn't think Mercedes used adjustable rods, but here we are. I think we know what happened here, and I also think I just screwed myself because now I can't turn the engine over. It's fine. Just forget I did that. This head looks pretty decent, and it doesn't look like that piston did any damage to the combustion chamber. Just a little bit right there. And that's why I pushed on that piston specifically, because I saw a little bit of carbon cleaned area on the crown of that piston, and that coincides with the combustion chamber. But I think the head's going to be okay. Now we're going to pull some of this overzealous malarkey off the front of the engine, water pump. We'll get this oil cooler off, and then we'll get the timing cover off. Oh, I get it. So you rotate the pump to where the hole lines up with the bolt you want to take out. Perfect. Germans think of everything. I think I got all the bolts out. Do I really? I don't know. Let's pry on it. Boy, it sure doesn't act. Oh, I missed a whole bunch of bolts. Oh. Came right off. Look at that unit. Looks like an original pump. This is strange. It's got like these pieces pressed in here. I've never seen anything like it. I wonder why. I'm sure someone knows. Now we're going to get the crank pulley off, hopefully. Yes. It does have a woodruff key, so this should just come right off. Oh, that was so easy. I suppose it's time to get this cooler out of the way. I'm sure this won't make a mess. It's blue. I'm not surprised. Oh, that can't be it. There's got to be a bunch more. Oh, 1, 2. That one's gone. Oh, is there a hider? There sure is. Sneaky, sneaky. There's actually two back here. I'm going to gently tap on this timing cover with this hammer that one of my fans and his son made. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it a lot. And it appears I probably missed a few bolts. Oil pump could be built in here and the pickup will keep it in place. So we're going to stop there. We're going to flip it upside down, make a big mess, I'm sure. We'll get the pan out of the way. Then we can pull the timing cover. All right, here goes something. Wow, this is actually really light. It's pretty clear that this has been apart before. There's probably 1/10 of the amount of bolts that are supposed to be. So there's still like 300 left, but we're going to get these out, get the pan off. That's it. What the? I think I'm supposed to pull this first. Feels like I'm bending something. Oh. Oh, that's bad. Oh, you know what? It's this broken oil return. That's what's doing it. If you notice earlier in the video, one side slid out and this side just fell off because it was broken. Look at that. I didn't need that. See? That's what did it. And this will just go boop. Just like so. This is probably not the ideal pan to pan for gold, but bearings, you might find some of that. There's lots of chunky stuff, sparkles. It's a whole rainbow. And then there's some, that looks like part of a bearing. And that's plastic, I think. Feels like plastic. And what is that? Oof. Why is that orange? I wonder what happened here. And as you can see, the pickup screen is it's just got tons of junk in there. Some of that's orange. Let me know if you know what that is. I have no idea what's orange that would be inside of an engine. That's pretty ugly. It's very ugly in there. Now let's get the windage tray out of the way, and then we can get the oil pump. Windage tray / pickup. Uh-oh. That's not normal. But where's the rest of it? Somewhere someone has a rod cap, because I don't see it in here. I actually think we can pull the timing cover. The oil pump is not built into this front timing cover, so we'll push that in there. Let's give it some taps with this hammer. I don't want to break the other one. So, where's the bolt that I missed? I bet it's behind this gasket. There and there. Yep. Okay, now let's try it. Oh, so much better with the bolts out. That was really simple. So it looks like this just comes off. Wow, that's pretty simple. If history has taught us anything, it's that working on unfamiliar German vehicles can be dangerous, so safety glasses. Whoa! Cool. Okay. Oh, that doesn't even have to come off. I'm gonna need this. This can get out of the way. What comes off first? What am I doing wrong here? Oh, I think I gotta get the oil pump out of the way first. Let's do that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that didn't do anything for me. What? Why did I do that? Wait a minute. I see what happens here. It comes off as a unit. It's brilliant. Kind of. Well, I think it's pretty clear what happened here. It's really bad. I can't get the bearing out of the top of the rod. And because of the crank position, I can't push this back in. We'll change that in a minute. But the rest of this looks perfect. I wonder why this one. Why did this one have a problem? Maybe there was a clogged oil passage. The rest of these look okay, but we haven't pulled the caps off, so we don't really know. Now, what kind of guy would I be if I didn't take the oil pump apart? I don't know what side I should take apart first. Let's try this side first. What does this do? I don't know. Looks like an oil pressure regulator, maybe? Is that what that does? Maybe. The oil pump drives it. I could probably run that part number. I did want to do that. Whoa, cool. Look at these veins. They all popped out of here. That's neat. Stay. It actually looks pretty good. I don't see any major wear. There is actually some damage right there on that housing. Another groove right there. I don't mind these falling out. It's fine. It doesn't do that while it dries, so that's fine. And then there's some of the same wear on the inside here on the housing. I think this comes out of here. There's like a spring holding this in here. That seems dangerous. Let me get a screwdriver. This will be fine. What's the worst that could happen? That wasn't so bad. Yeah. That's cool that it's kind of a serviceable piece. But if you're this far, why wouldn't you just replace it with a new one? What do these do? Oh, these are like keys that keep this in place. There you can see some of the wear on that housing. And then coinciding wear on that housing. If we turn this around, see some damage right there. I've got the crank bolt back in it so I can hopefully turn this engine over. It doesn't really move too much. There we are. So we've got some rods and pistons to take out. I suppose we'll start with the easiest one first. Oh boy. That's ugly. Now we can turn this over and we'll go front to back. Just like so. That worked perfect. That wasn't very tight. That was loose. Why are they loose? Someone in here before me? I think so. So there's one bearing fused to the crankshaft, and I want to get it off. So we're going to... Was that smoke? Did I just let some smoke out of this thing? I don't know about this, folks. Wow, look how destroyed that journal is. I mean, the oil hole is completely plugged, well, almost completely plugged. That's just amazing. What's weird is there are no other journals like that. This is the only one. So what is strange here is that the bearings don't look that bad. I mean, these are a little rough, starting to flake. Obviously, this is terrible. Spun this bearing, and you can see the discolored rod. This got hot. And the bolt was still in this rod, and it doesn't look like it's bent. It does look like something hit it. So I don't know what happened to the cap. Obviously, someone pulled the pan off of it. It was missing a lot of bolts, and that's likely where the cap wound up. But what happened first here? I mean, it spun a bearing, and it could have been from a clogged oil passage. But why did it not tear up any of the other bearings? These all look fine. The pistons, on the other hand, these are not all fine. This is probably the best one. This is what most of them look like. Look at that skirt. It's trashed on one side. Look at that. There's a really bad one coming up here. Forgot which one it was. I think was it this one? Yeah, look at that. It's super deep grooves. It's awful. That too. That material went somewhere. Could have led to this. Now, the crank. Uh-oh. I'll have to come back to that. Uh-oh. Well, that's bad. There's that main journal. It's pretty scored up. I think this crank is done. I don't think it's worth turning. Look how rough these bores are. Wow. It's impressive. Did not expect any of this. And somehow, the inside of this engine is relatively unaffected. I mean, obviously the bore's trash, but it didn't toss a rod. That's really, I'm really impressed this kept the bad stuff on the inside. Before I talk about what happened to this engine, I'd like to mention that the M278 is very similar to the M157, which is the AMG larger displacement bi-turbo V8. It's built on the same architecture as this engine. So if you're interested to see how the M157 comes apart, it's all very similar to the engine we just tore down. Obviously there are some differences, but the processes are all the same. Now this engine, man, this poor engine. It's not like it just had one problem. It had issues all over the place. First thing we saw, soft camshaft. I did not really expect to see that. That was a shocker to me. And that material likely ended up in the oil pump, which could have clogged an oil passage, and that's why we saw the damage on one rod journal and one main journal. It was really torn up. It's clear that someone had been into that engine. They had pulled the oil pan and obviously saw some horrific things inside and buttoned it back up and said, not my problem. And then, well, I made it my problem. Someone also worked on it, pulled the cam plates off of it, used like 80 grit to get rid of the gasket material, and then a bunch of RTV to put them back on. Who works on these cars like that? It makes no sense. And that leads me to the head bolt. That is a first. I've torn down a lot of engines, and maybe not that many Mercedes engines, but what the heck? Those were the tightest head bolts I've ever had to deal with. I mean, I almost had to get a cheater bar for my extra long breaker bar. And I probably would have had to pin that engine down with my forklift just to keep it from rolling away. It was a lot. Those were very tight. I'm not surprised I broke one. I mean, I am surprised it broke, but I'm surprised they were that tight. Thankfully, it broke instead of stripped. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to get the head off, and then we wouldn't have been able to see all of the delightful failures inside of that engine. I really hope you enjoyed this teardown. It was actually not as bad as I thought. I thought it was going to be pretty tough. That's why I kind of kicked it aside for a while and passed on it in light of some other easier engines, but bit the bullet, and it really wasn't that bad. It's a lot easier to work on than, say, a BMW N63. Now, last week I did a video on, it was a 100,000 subscriber special, and I did a walkthrough of my shop and my lot. I showed you many of my parts cars, and one car got a ton of interest, and that is the Bullitt behind me. Now, this is the ugly side. You guys saw the good-looking side, and this is why I own it. Obviously, it is not getting repaired. But if you'd like to buy parts off of it, as of Monday afternoon, all of the parts should be available. We'll have prices. It'll be inventoried. So feel free to send us an email. I'll leave our email in the video description. And same with this engine. If you'd like to buy parts off of this engine or any of the other engines, my email is in the video description. And before I leave you tonight, I wanted to talk about some of the requests I get for engines. I am getting a lot of requests for engines I've already done. Now, I'm not going to say I will never do them again. You guys know I'll do the same engine over and over and over again, 5.3s and 2.3 liter turbo Mazdas. But if you'd like to see content on those engines, search my other videos. I've been doing this for over a year. There's over 60 teardown videos. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this teardown. It really was a lot of fun. And as always, I love all the comments, all the feedback, and even the criticism. I love it all. And I'll catch you on the next one.